Thank you.
Of 2025 was a tragic and terrifying event that has affected not only the people directly involved, but also students everywhere. Knowing that something like this can happen at a school makes me feel very unsafe and anxious. Since being involved with the shooting, I have been feeling scared to even go in the dark to take my dogs out to use the bathroom. Loud noises like doors slamming hard make me jump because they remind me of what could happen. It's hard to feel relaxed or normal when things like that are always in the back of my mind. I also get nervous being home alone because I am thinking someone is going to break in and hurt me. I don't feel as safe as I used to. I used to think Apalachee was going to be a safe place for me to learn and graduate and make new friends. But no, now I just go to school thinking that I'm not safe here. This situation shows how deeply events like this can impact students mentally and emotionally. It's not just something that happens and goes away, it stays with people. Schools are supposed to be safe places, and when that safety is broken, it changes how we feel every day. And then the next statement was written by Sarah Beaver on behalf of Jackson Beaver, who was another one of the students in Miss Ryan's classroom on September 4th. On September 4th of 2024, he went to school as a carefree, innocent 15-year-old. He came home completely broken. His childhood was violently stolen, forced to spend that grueling night begging for updates just to see how many of his classmates he would have to mourn. Now my son, like so many others, carries a crushing weight of guilt that belongs solely to the defendant. He torments himself thinking he didn't do enough. He has looked at us through tears and said it should have been him. As a mother, it breaks my heart that my son didn't more to protect his peers that day than the defendant ever did to protect the world from his own child. This trauma is a direct result of the defendant's absolute catastrophic failure as a parent. While I spent 15 years nurturing, loving, and protecting my son, you spent years actively ignoring the warning signs of a monster in your home. Because the defendant utterly refused to parent his child, my son's innocence was destroyed. His total abdication of parental responsibility forced Jackson to abandon Apalachee High School entirely, because the hallways he let his son terrorize are now triggers for paralyzing nightmares. His deliberate negligence took away two beautiful, irreplaceable children. Because of him, the world is now forced to know Mason Skirmahorn and Christian Angulo only through internet obituaries and grieving news clips. They were just boys. They were supposed to grow up, play video games, and have futures. You didn't just fail your own son, Colin Gray. He robbed the world of Mason and Christian and left their families with a shattering permanent void. He robbed the world of Richard and Christina. They were people of honor, love, and courage. They gave everything they had to save our kids, while the defendant gave his son a rifle and a free pass for devastation. He traded their lives and their families' futures for his own unconscionable cowardness. While he stood by as an indifferent spectator to his son's escalating violence, my son was standing on a football field bleeding. Pieces of that day are now a permanent part of his body. Every single ache, twitch, and physical sensation in his leg is a violent, forced flashback to the terror the defendant allowed to happen. He didn't just buy his son a rifle. He hand-delivered the means to dismantle my son's peace, youth, and future. He chose to ignore every warning sign. He chose to provide the firearm. He chose to sit back and watch and do nothing. And because of his unconscionable cowardice, 4 beautiful souls, Mason, Christian, Coach Aspinwall, and Mrs. Yermy, were stolen from us forever. Their families are left with an unfillable void, their lives permanently shattered by the lives that were brutally cut short. But his destruction didn't stop with the dead. He created an entire generation of traumatized survivors who must now carry the invisible, agonizing scars of his failure. My son, alongside every classmate who made it out of those hallways, is serving a life sentence of fear, panic, and grief. They are forced to reconstruct their failures out of the wreckage he handed his son the power to create. The community, neighboring counties, law enforcement, paramedics, hospitals, nurses, and many others will forever have images of that day in their mind, all because of his failures. He let them all down, along with his children. While he deserves every ounce of punishment the law can hand down, he is not the only one with blood on his hands. His mother, his grandmother, and every other family member who stood by and watched the severe abuse he suffered, who knew exactly how dark and horrific his mind had become, belong in a courtroom right next to him. Their silence was active compliance. Their refusal to step in and save those children is no different than pulling the trigger themselves. By doing absolutely nothing to stop the violence they knew was coming, they chose to let it happen. Because your choices were deliberate, or because the defendant's choices were deliberate, his punishment must be absolute. My son's childhood can never be restored. The families of the victims will forever be altered. The survivors will always have fear following them like a dark cloud. The community will never be the same. And the defendant must spend every single remaining day of his life carrying the heavy weight of the ruin he has created. Matthew 18:6 says, "If anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck than to be drowned in the depths of the sea." Since that punishment is not an option, I demand that this court hand down the absolute maximum sentence allowed by law, without mercy.
Judge, next we have Natalie Griffith.